Here we go. Let's see. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. All right. I shifted the desk so our library is in the background this morning. Let me see here. I hope everyone is having a nice holiday weekend so far. Here in New York City, the temperature is okay. But oh gosh, over the weekend it was very hot. I actually had to turn on the AC for the first time this year, uh, followed by having to put on stuff for humidity because I didn't want the humidity to drop since I was putting the AC on. So it has begun. the the going back to I haven't had to kind of manipulate the levels like that so much since kind of like midwinter. Um so I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. So back with the having the fans on, if the AC on is making sure that the humidifiers are on. So a little balancing act to make sure that everybody is happy. Um Yeah, I actually picked up some things this weekend that I was pretty excited about. Also received some things this weekend. And so I thought it would be awesome to show you and kind of tell you a little bit of what I plan to do with them. Uh, Firstly, which was really cool, this is Brian's. So I'm just going to grab it real quick. But Brian picked this up yesterday. So there was a at our local pet shop. It's called Tom's Pet Supply. So if you're here in New York City, just follow Tom's Pet Supply, located here in Long Island City. And they do, I mean, not only do they have great pet selection and supplies, but they also do some events there. And so one of those things is plant related events. So they do plant swaps, um, like plant, like kind of like connections where people are even just giving away plants. So it's something to definitely check out if you are inclined to and if you're in the area. Now they also do have plants for sale at those events. The plants that they do typically have on sale regularly, they do sell Nepenthes, which are pitcher plants. So they do have a selection of those at the moment. They do sell some uh, plants for terrariums, and so they have just a couple in there. But then, other than that, it's then aquarium plants. They do have a selection of those. But at yesterday's event, they were selling plants, and Brian, of course, because so Brian has Monstera albo, then he has the Thai Monstera, then he has the mint, I believe, in a tissue culture, and he really needed the Aurea. He's a Pokemon trainer here, trying to catch them all. So he really we saw someone selling them one there, and Brian was like, I fell in love. Thank you. He just passed it to me. So this is Brian's Aurea. Really beautiful. So this new leaf just came in, so it's still fresh and it's looking green. But as the leaf hardens, the yellow really starts to come through. It's really hard to catch on camera, but you can see the flecking. Once this hardens, then you'll be able to really see it. You can see the candy striping here. I know that's not the term, but Brian and I always say candy striping, like the candy caning. Um, and it's now stuck, so I say it all the time. But here you could see that variegation. But then here, so the leaf is damaged, but you can see the coloration here. So you could see it has some like light yellow, like kind of like a cream with like a neon green, and a lot of flecking. So absolutely beautiful. The part that looks damaged is the lightest part. And so for those of you who might not know, when you do have, especially like Monstera, when they have really big sections of white, these sections are just more highly sensitive. So if they can easily get burned, easily get burned. If there's a fluctuation in humidity and it gets like super dry in your house, uh, first thing to start to get all uh oh my gosh, the tips, dried tips, but I'm forgetting the other word right now. A crisp. Thank you, Brian. Yes, crisping. I don't know why I like exited my brain that word. But yeah, so it's one of the first things to crisp and one of the first things to burn. So, so it's very common when you do pick these up, you might see that there has been some damage to those sections, and then the person usually cuts them off, just for aesthetic reasons. But that doesn't affect the mutation itself, and so, yeah, I'm excited to see what other leaves it has a new leaf coming in. So we're excited to see the coloration in that. But yeah, and it's in leca. So check out these roots. Gorgeous roots. So this is leca. So leca is lightweight expanded clay aggregate. And so otherwise known as leca, you might hear people pronounce leca, leica. Yeah, people pronounce it differently, but um so it's purely kind of in a hydroponic basically situation here. So there's no soil, there's no orchid mix or anything. The only thing that's in here is leca. It's just in varying sizes, which is always really great. You can buy bags where they're pretty uniform in size, but I do like when they're mixed up like that. It definitely, it helps like the roots. They have like it's much more irregular, and I feel like it creates more pockets. Sometimes when they're uniform, it really seals in. And so having them in different sizes works really great. But beautiful, beautiful root system, really healthy roots. And yeah, so far, so good. Complete with a glow in the dark rubber ducky that the seller put in there. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm excited to see where it goes in terms of growth and patterning. So the aurea means like yellow. And so if you're not familiar with the Monstera aurea, that variegation is much more on that yellow color spectrum rather than like the creamy white that you might see on like ties or albos. And then mints, from my recollection, they're more like splattered, right, Brian? Yeah, it's like much more flecky, like very, very flecky. And then there's the monster, and that one's harder to find, but I think that displays kind of all the different types of variegation in one. So, but that I don't know. I don't know anytime soon that those are really going to be readily available here. So hopefully one day, hopefully. Then on Saturday, I got a package. Oh wait, before that, so I said they were giving away things there too. And I actually picked this little guy up, and they were giving it away for free. So hold on. I am pulling it out of the bag. You could see the condensation build up here. So I'm gonna leave it in a bag for now, just as it's, getting used to the temperature here, and then we'll be putting it into Brian's cabinet. But this is a sundew. So let's see. Gonna try not to spill all this dirt on my keyboard, but you can see. These are really neat. These are carnivorous plants. Um, so uh, this person, I use the same. These are you buy them at like Dollar Tree. They're meant for hors d'oeuvres and like for like party for little snacks. And I buy those too because I use them for my tiny um pots. And so when I saw these, I was like, yep. They work really great. So what she does is that she puts a like a fine sand, so it works like filtration, followed by a peat on top. with some coco coir. And the goal is just to make sure that that sand stays wet, not necessarily the peat. So um, you don't want the peat to be soaking wet. And she started all of these from seed, which is really neat. And they're carnivorous in that what I'll do is I'll show you guys what a sundew looks like in as a close-up so that you can see how it is that they capture their prey. So basically, it's very hard to see because they are so tiny right now. Here you go. But basically, they have these little hairs, and they kind of work like little tentacles, and they exude a very like sticky sap that when a fly, let's say, lands on it, it gets stuck, and then it proceeds to digest the insect, but from the outside. So it's very similar to, let's say, like a Venus flytrap, where it captures its prey and then it releases kind of these chemicals, these enzymes to break down the insect, but it does it within the little trap. However, sundews just they don't have a trap, so it's all being done on its surface, on these little hairs. So really cool mechanism. And these carnivorous plants, they usually occur in areas like very swamp-like, where the nutrition density is rather low, and so the plants needed to supplement so that they can't, while they do photosynthesize, they needed more. They needed more, so they adapted this other way of collecting nutrients, and it's by capturing prey. Really, really cool. So I'm excited to have these. I've never had them this small. I did try a sundew one time before, I think about like 2 years ago, and it was going really well for a few weeks, and then I just missed a watering. I just completely just went absent from my mind, and I just completely forgot to water it on a weekend. And I tried to bring it back and I couldn't. I let it dry out too much. And so now I'm gonna stay on top of this one, especially they're smaller, which I think is probably gonna be better. The one I had gotten was much bigger. And so a benefit with these little guys is that as they're growing, they're going to be acclimating more so to our home. And I feel like I might be able to work with these a little bit better. And also, I'm going to be much more vigilant, and we're going to be putting them in the cabinet. And that is something that Brian especially is checking a lot. So far, so good. Something really interesting that the grower actually told me that I thought would be a fun fact to pass along was that once I upgrade them, so once they outgrow this little tray, she said to put them in another shallow dish, but that you want to create this like filtration layer. But she said the best things to do is like something smooth, so very like neutral type of rock. So she was using really fine grained sand, but she says when they're bigger, try to use something like quartz or something mineral based. However, she said stick to like whites and pinks and avoid greens, because the greens will usually minerals that are green will have may leach things like copper, or if you purchase them, they also might be dyed, so they're not really green. And what happens is that these are very, very sensitive to those types of chemicals. And so it's just better like quartz or something like that you can put on the bottom, followed by that layer of peat, and then transfer them over. So I didn't know that. I know there are some plants that are very, very sensitive to different types of metals. I know that with air plants, they can be very, very sensitive to different types of metals. So it's interesting to see this unfold with this type of plant. And then, of course, in terms of watering, I just have to just strictly distilled water. And something else that I was asking, I told her, I said, well, thankfully, we don't have a fungus gnat problem. But if I want to keep it fed, what's the best way to go about it? Because there's really like a lower amount of food for them in this home right now. And so she said that actually a really good thing that how she feeds them is bug bites. So bug bites is a brand of fish food that is meant for fish that are either omnivores or carnivorous fish. And so you well, insectivores basically, but it's very high in protein, and they're just these kind of, they look like kibble, but very small for your fish. And funny enough, we feed our fish bug bites. So I said, wow, we already have that at home, so I don't need to purchase something new. And she said, yeah, what she does is, I'm just putting it back in the bag here. What she does is she takes a small piece and she puts a couple drops of distilled water on it, lets it kind of soak up, and it starts to crumble and become kind of like a little mushy. And then she proceeds to use a little toothpick, and she takes a little dab and she puts a couple dabs on the different parts of the sundew, and that's what it ends up eating. And that's how she feeds them, and that's how she feeds all of them, and that's how they've been reared. And I think that's wonderful and a great alternative, because some folks, you know, probably wouldn't want to feed live insects to their plants. And I think that that's just wonderful. And she also grows Venus flytraps, and she was saying she does that as well, so that so she doesn't have to feed them live insects. So I wanted to share that, because this was news. All of those fun facts were news for me. So I definitely was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell everybody, because yeah, it's really neat. And here, these were started from seed, which is just insane. But there are several here. So there's one, two, three, four, five in this little tray. And so let's see. Let's see. I'll give you updates. Let's see how it pans out. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Uh, that that they're happy. And then what I was saying was, on Saturday, um, I received some mail, and I ordered some live moss. So here we go. This came from Kentucky. Now the species name is up for debate. I have to really try to identify um the type of moss. But yeah, I'm excited to start this. So I really liked how it was wrapped. So with some um newspaper to keep it damp, and so I got four of these, and I'm going to be setting them up. So what I'm going to be doing is, I have these little plastic containers that are very shallow, but they're wide. So they're like big rectangles, but like low. So the plan is to put a layer of a drainage layer, followed by some uh, horticultural charcoal on top of that. Then I do have like a peat mix that I've just had kind of sitting there, which is going to be a great base for this. So kind of sandwich that on. It's kind of like build a lasagna of these layers. You press it really, really tight, and then you put your moss on top, kind of really push the moss in, get it like really sealed, and give it a good watering, and put in some light. So uh, the plan is then it will essentially hold on to that lower um, layer, and it starts to grow. And then once you start to see when I'm forgetting if they're called sporophytes, um, but basically they're a moss's version of flowers, because they're not like typical flowers like other plants, but they're kind of version of flowers. They once they produce those and then they start to reproduce, that next generation of moss is going to be better acclimated to my home. So I have one other species of moss that looks very different that I use in my isopod tanks. Um, but this one is much taller, very, very grass-like. And so I would like to introduce that to our terrariums and to have like a population of moss growing readily where I can kind of take some, and it just replenishes itself. So, not bad for it was $10, and I got 4 bags, included the shipping. So it's an experiment. So I'm gonna record myself as I put it together, and then we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I'm worried I might have some die off, but usually it springs back relatively quickly. So we'll we'll see. We'll see about that. Um, how large do sundews get? Diana asks. Yeah. So it depends on the species. Now, these, so it's like about that big. Um, this one gets. But I think the largest species, let me see here. So, oh wow, yeah. So Drosera giganta, called the giant sundew, is located in Western Australia, and it can grow up to 3 feet tall. Holy moly. Um, yeah, that's insane. But no, mine, this is a much smaller, much smaller. Um, But yeah, there are some species that can get very, very, very large, and just their leaves can extend out. I know leaves might not be the right term for that. I have to do a deep dive into sundews. I want to learn the names of their different structures, uh, like what are the components of those, um, like of that sap that they exude. Like I need to do a big deep dive on them. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll do a big deep dive, and then I can do a class later on them, because they're very interesting. So I definitely want to learn all I can. And yes, they will eat all the pesky insects. So at this size, like being so itty bitty, they'll probably just catch something like maybe a fruit fly would be a pretty big meal. Otherwise, fungus gnats works really well. Um, just smaller, really, really small types of gnats would probably work best at that size. But once they get bigger, yeah, they could easily catch a fly. Yeah, and other anything that's kind of buzzing around, buzzing around the house. They can definitely, if the unlucky insect plants lands itself on the plant, then yeah, then it's in trouble. Um, oh, and Adeline, what can you tell me about my peace lily? Okay, I saw the biggest peace lily I've ever seen. I think it was on Saturday. That was huge. We went to a friend's house, and his mom has plants, and we walked into the room, and at first I thought it was a bird of paradise because it was so large, and only to realize I was like, oh my gosh, this is a spathiphyllum. This is a peace lily, and it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful plant. Um, I have I have it for a year, and it's grown very little. Some leaves, are getting some leaf ends are getting a brown edge around the leaf, so I moved it to my bathroom so it can get light down on top of the plant. Plus getting a good deal of constant moisture because of showering. Great. Now I brought it out to the now I brought it out of the bathroom, wondering if it needed more light as the bathroom window is on the north wall. Now the edges of my leaves are looking yellow. What's going on? Okay, great. So one thing about peace lilies, and there are other plants that are very similar, like ficus, like any kind of fig plants. Peace lilies are one that are notorious for hating to be moved. They have trouble kind of acclimating, and once they do acclimate to a spot, so once they get used to one spot, uh, that's kind of their spot. And if you move them, they will let you know that you that they were unhappy with the shift. They just get stressed very easily. They seem to just have like a higher stress response, basically. And so they are very, very, very indicative of their any environmental changes. So if you're seeing the crisping, so that usually is something about dehydration. So that could be that it just wasn't getting, it was in a drier spot. It wasn't getting enough moisture in the air. So it starts to do a little bit of crisping. Um, so, I mean, moving it into the bathroom was great. They do really, really well in bathrooms. They do appreciate the humidity. Uh, and in terms of the light, I mean, a north window, it is pretty gentle. It is pretty gentle light. Um, but they can deal with a slightly lower light. Um, but it just wouldn't thrive. So if you really wanted it to grow, yeah, the north window exposure wouldn't really do that for you. It would kind of keep it alive, but it wouldn't thrive. And so that's what you want. Now you moved it again, and now it's getting yellow. And so again, it's just the moving. It's getting used to a new space. It was a shift, a dramatic shift, either in lighting or humidity. And so it's just showing that stress response. And so yellowing of the leaves is very common. For like ficus, they tend to drop their leaves. They don't even go to yellow. They just drop the leaves. And that's just how you kind of realize, like, whoops, they just drop it. They don't even waste their time turning them yellow. But yeah, so peace lilies are just a little bit more um, delicate in that regard. So if what kind of light situation do you now have it in? I would say uh, get a moisture meter. Sorry, not a moisture meter. A humidity gauge, just to see where in what spot, what are your readings in that spot. So they're very, very inexpensive. You can get like a 5 pack for like $10 or $7 even on Amazon. But something that shows you the temperature and the humidity in that spot. So just make sure that you have it kind of next to your plant, and that's really going to be perfect. They don't like to get very hot. They don't like to get very cold. So like upper 60s, low 70s is great. They can climb like into the 80s, but like once it starts to get a little bit higher 80s, 90s, it's not, it's not going to like it that much if it's getting like way, way, way too hot. Um, and in terms of lighting, that southern exposure is going to be too strong. So don't put it in a south window. It's going to burn. Western exposure, I would say if it's like pulled significantly back, you don't want it to be right up against a window, like during golden hour, when like around 5, 6 p.m., when the sun gets super, super strong, that can definitely burn your plant. So if you have your plants in western windows, and they don't like that much sun, it's good during the day, but then, during the evening, it has to be either pulled back, or it could just be pulled back indefinitely, and that's kind of where it lives, so it's never like right in that pathway of that really intense light. Eastern light would probably be the best situation for your bird of paradise if you have that type of exposure. If you only have a western or southern exposure, I mean, you could put like a really sheer kind of white curtain if you have one, something that's going to break up that light so that it's not so intense and full on. So if those are your only lighting situations,
Well,
but yeah,
right now I brought it out into it has eastern exposure.
okay,
It's not uh it's not right up on a windowsill or anything. It's, I would say, about 8 or 10 feet on a table away from the
okay.
east window, but it's still got those yellow edges all the way around, and I'm I'm wondering, keepers, I'm gonna have to cut more leaves.
Yeah, probably. I would say watch it. It might just be some of the edges, and hopefully it stops there. But it more than likely it's just reacting to being moved again. And so then it takes a while for it to kind of get its bearings again and get used to the new situation. Um, Worst case, I mean, just so you know, as long as the roots are healthy, a peace lily can be completely burned. It can be scorched. You can chop it, like raise it to the ground, where you just leave little stumps and they come back. So don't panic if you're like, oh gosh, I have to cut some leaves. They will produce more leaves. But if it's now in an eastern, so if it was in northern and now in eastern, uh, the more light is definitely going to make it more productive. So once it gets used to this, and it takes several weeks for it to get used to a new spot. So once it's now used to that spot, then it will shift its focus to being productive, to producing growth. And then so it's gonna take a little bit. It's gonna take a little bit to see the change. But it will definitely get used to that spot. And I think yeah, pulled away from an eastern window, I mean that sounds perfect. So as long as they're getting that, eastern light's really nice, consistent, you get really nice morning light. It's very gentle. So I mean that's a perfect situation is that eastern window. And yeah, the yellow, I know it's like for some people it's like very unsightly and it's also very worrying, right? But it should be fine. It's just gonna take a little bit longer for it to get used to it
So
and just huh?
so should it get a little bit of a water spray?
Um, so if you're gonna mist it, you want to make sure one that your home is not very cool so that you don't have an AC running or anything like that.
No, I
If
don't have anything like that.
okay. And do you have a fan or like really good air circulation?
I don't have a fan going either.
Okay. So if you're gonna mist it, I would say make sure that either there's a fan or that you have windows going because you don't want it to be wet and then in stagnant air. That will lead to mold. Because then the water, the plant isn't absorbing the water through its leaves, and so if it can't dry fast enough because of like the ambient temperature, the heat, the air circulation, the leaves, they're just sitting with that water kind of hanging on to them, and it could cause a lot more issues. So
But
if
there's
you
a lot of sunshine coming in through that window. I mean, surprising. Like it's just as bright as if the sun was right there. So
yeah,
I would
yeah.
think that if you misted it a wee bit, that warm sunshine would just dry it up pretty quickly by itself.
Yes and no. So it all depends on the ambient temperature of the house. And so it is receiving the sun, but that, with the glass, so that's definitely a barrier, that can change. And also if your home is very cool, it does, even if it's getting that brighter, sunshine, if the home, let's say, is very cold, air is very stagnant, it doesn't, it's not the same rate of drying.
Yes,
And
the
so
house
just,
isn't
yeah.
too cool because
Okay.
we're on the main. I'm on, like, I mean, on the main floor. There's all the sunshine coming in through all the east windows, and not very far away, I have the range where I'm always cooking, and so should be some steam.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's not right there close to the plant, but still, the steam should kind of be getting around.
Yeah, that would definitely add to humidity. So I would really, really recommend, if possible, for you to get a gauge, only because you want to see that you can just, when you do get it, you can just check maybe like 3 times a day. Just make a note. Okay, in the morning, this is my temperature and my humidity today. In the afternoon, this is it, and I eat in the evening, and do that for like 3 or 4 days, so that you can kind of see how it fluctuates. So they really want the peace lilies really like consistency. So if it's in a spot, or you start to see, oh, there's big dips, there's really big rapid temperature shifts, there's really big shifts in humidity, then you mitigate that. So either with like a humidifier, maybe you can even boil water. I do that. So with our apartment, our kitchen, and our living room, there's no door separating it. So uh, when I put humidifiers on in our bedroom, in our office, what I'll do is sometimes I'll just put water to boil in our kitchen, and that fills up the kitchen with humidity and adds humidity in our living room as well. So um, that's a really great, so you don't have to go and buy a humidifier. You can definitely just boil some water, and it does the exact same thing. It really ups it. Like yesterday when I had to put on the AC, it really dries the air out. So my humidity like really dropped into like it was like 30 something. And so I was like, okay, that's a little too dry. So I put on some boiling water, and that brings it right up again. And so where the plants are nice and comfortable. So so when you have the gauge though, then it's just going to tell you. So it kind of takes out that guessing, because you can really see like, okay, wow, it's getting really dry. And that's why my plant is showing those types of symptoms. Because otherwise it's kind of like, oh yeah, it feels comfortable for me, but it might not be comfortable for the plant, unfortunately.
So where should the humidity be?
Yeah, so for peace lilies, I mean, peace lilies, they can go into the 40s for humidity, in the 40%. And so like 40, 45%, is okay. Is like a pretty stable, where they're really comfortable, and they're gonna look really supple and really great. Uh, it's in the if they're in the 30% of the humidity, again, they might survive, but they might have crisping, and so they won't look as like like they're thriving. They're kind of gonna be skating by. But they might start to have that crisping, if that percentage is within like the 30%. It's a little bit low. uh, so yeah, but
And what
within
would you
the
say
40.
about the watering?
Yes. So it depends again on your home and the amount of light, but usually, in kind of, the usual circumstances, as long as they're gonna be getting watered almost about like once a week. So they are thirstier plants. You don't want to water them though if you feel the topsoil and it's still soaked. You
Yeah,
definitely don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that it's the first like 1 or 2 inches are dry. Um, you can, some people use a moisture meter where you stick it in,
yeah, yeah.
uh, or you can use your finger. So
Yeah,
I just use my finger
yeah,
because
like
it's
when it
easier.
was in the bathroom, I always made sure, uh, and I didn't water it until it was the top inch or two was
Yeah.
dry, because I didn't want to have trouble going the other direction. Uh, Plus, like I said, it got the moisture from washing your hands every time you go to the bathroom, and showering and everything like that. And it was close to the window, but uh, it was on a shelf down, so it
Uh,
wasn't like right across from the window, but it was getting the the light was coming in and able to shine down on top of the leaves, which is what I was trying to do. So I don't know. I should go and try to put it back there again if the north that light coming in the north window is enough for because then it was just getting little brown around a couple of leaves, but now it suddenly got yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the brown again, it's usually just that sign of because if it's crispy, if the brown that's happening on the edges of the leaves is crispy to the touch, so that's usually some sign of dehydration. But if it's brown and very soft to the touch, so if you touch it and it feels like jelly-like or something like that, then that usually indicates like rot. So that could be like root rot or something,
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It
like that.
wasn't that.
So if it was
It
crispy, then
wasn't
yeah.
crispy. It wasn't crispy either. It's just that it had these brown edges, and so I thought, well,
Okay.
okay, I'll cut off those brown edges, and it was starting to get better, but it just isn't wasn't growing very much there.
Yeah, because of the northern light, it again it'll survive. It'll
Yeah.
be okay. It just won't north light is just so gentle that it doesn't it won't like push growth. So it will grow at a much slower pace. But I mean, it sounded like it was doing a little bit, yeah, because I mean that was a big change. Now, if you really want to prioritize growth, if that's what you're looking for, I say leave it in the eastern light and just it's gonna have to go through this acclimation period.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're probably just gonna lose leaves. You can just cut them and
Yeah.
just kind of let it kind of go through this like transition phase
Yeah.
as much as it will pain you to see. Um, yeah, just to see and then yeah, I would
Okay.
say just let it kind of ride it out.
Yeah.
And then once now that it's in that eastern light, it should start to push out more growth.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Oh, Suzanne. I don't know. Is anybody else's transmission is the connection? I'm not freezing on my end, or at least I'm not seeing that I'm freezing on my end. But if it is, I'm so sorry. I'm connected to the 5G, so it should be okay. But definitely let me know if anything, if if I freeze. But yeah. And then I wanted to just show you some other cuttings that I received. So here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Um, so here are just some mixed ones that I got. Uh, here we go. So there are some baby jades in here. I'm gonna plant those up. And then there's also this ruby necklace here. So I really love these. I love that stem, like a magenta, really really beautiful stem. Um, and I'm gonna try to get this guy rooted. I might have to cut this top part off. Hold on, let me put this down here. Might have to cut this part off. You see, this does not look like it's very viable. Um, so I might have to cut this one off and then put this in the substrate. So I might have to sacrifice these, I think this one too. I might have to sacrifice that and just have that and then let that continue pushing out growth. Because it is already starting to put a little root right there. So I think that that's what's going to end up going into the substrate. So I'm going to have to sacrifice these two. Um, yeah. And it's a just mixed amount of jades here. More jades. Really cute little jades. Hold on, let me grab this jade here. So this one has a really cute red edge. Let's see if the camera. So got that. And then this was in here. So it's a type of a puntia. It might be a robusta. I want to check what it is, but this type of it's in the prickly pear family. Um, that's a very large piece. So I'm gonna. It's already calloused on the end, so it wasn't like a fresh cut. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna put it. I'm actually gonna put it into like I'm thinking maybe like a crushed granite or lava rock, something like that, where I can wedge it so that it stays upright, but then doesn't get waterlogged at the base, so that it can give me some roots there. But it looks really cool. It definitely has needles, so gonna be careful with that. And then there's also this little guy, um, which is elephant elephant bush, Portulacaria. So this little guy. So these are super, super, super tiny. I'm gonna try these, and this other one that I got, much bigger pieces. So I had them in, they came in boxes, and so then I just put them into here to show you. And also to view, just to make sure there's like no mealy bugs or anything weird in here. So I like to use the clear containers, because then I can see. But this one came with some kalanchoe. This is kalanchoe the panda. I think this is tomentosa. Kalanchoe. There is a little Haworthia. Here we go, little Haworthia. With the ridges. Really love that. Um, yeah, this looks like another Kalanchoe. I don't think it's a chocolate soldier, but it is also very fuzzy, like super, super fuzzy. Really, I love that color. So it goes into like a really kind of like a chocolatey kind of color. This is some type of Chrysula. I really love the structure of these plants. Chrysulas are always awesome. I like to collect them. So I always get happy when folks put different types of Chrysulas. And so jades are in the Chrysula family. And so this is another jade, but this is a variegated one. Look at that. Really pretty variegated jade. So gonna plant that one up. And then another jade, but this is also like a red edge jade. There is some damage on there, but it looks like it's old damage, so it's already dried out. So I'm not too worried about it. It looks like it has two new leaves coming in the center. But I love starting these at this size. They're great. This is awesome because I lost my Chrysula fulcata. I think it's fulcata. And so this is a Chrysula fulcata, also called, I think they call it like the airplane Chrysula. I've also heard it called like the sword Chrysula. But it's like, again, like that braided growth pattern. Um, but just much longer. So if you see like the difference, these are both Chrysulas. Let me put this here. But you can see that the growth pattern is very similar. So it's like this of these types of Chryssula. This is another Chryssula that they call I think this one's baby's necklace. Just really cute, really pretty. I love the red edge on it. Really cute. I think there was more, yeah, there was more than one. This one has a double head here. So it was quite a few Chryssulas in this one. Another jade again. Cool. Like the red edge. Really, really pretty. And this one has like a double head to it. So it's growing doubly. So that one's gonna branch out really cool. And then this is the burrow's tail. Like that is adorable. I really like these. I love pots of them. They just don't ship well. And I don't find them very often here in like uh big like hanging baskets, and I really want to. I usually find them and it's just like one. And so I do want to get a hanging basket, but I'm gonna have to find it in person. Um, I think people snatch them up probably as soon as they're put out, because I just know they do not ship well. You ship them, you get them, and once you take it out of the box, it just all falls apart. Now you can propagate each of these little leaves. You can propagate them, but it's gonna take a really long time. So I definitely want to get I want to get a whole basket if I can. This is some type of aeonium, but it's currently closed, so it'll open up and it'll look very much like a flower. Here we go, another type of Cursula here. So these should root readily. I'm gonna mix it up with ones that look like they might have roots already sprouting. I'm gonna put them into an actual substrate mix. And for those that have no roots, I am starting them in like a rock-based mix. So this allows me to uh, put water, and I put them in clear containers so I can watch where the water level is. And then it allows those roots to come in without the risk of them rotting by sitting on soil. Now, you could do that. You could just put them in, but I like to just increase my potential success rate. And so I yet I like to sprout my roots on like a rock substrate for that reason, just because I haven't had much success in terms of like percentage wise putting them directly into soil. I would just run a higher risk of having them rot versus in a clear container with like pon or leca or crushed granite, things like that, where I'm able to really see, and then I can see the roots come in. But yeah, like this has no roots whatsoever. This might look like roots, but they're not. That's the inner part of the stem there. So this one, I feel like I might have to sacrifice the bottom too, because that is a lot of damage on the base, and I don't know if the roots would actually generate from there. So roots that come out from cuttings, they're what are called adventitious roots, or also called wound roots, like a wound, like you got hurt. And so they're usually very thin, and they're just kind of like getting the plant some roots. Uh, and then once they're established, then the plant will start putting out the thicker roots that are meant to actually stabilize it, and effectively collect water. So the wound roots are typically also, you'll see them like the water roots, and they'll stay pretty thin until it starts to get bigger. You start to see those bigger roots come out. They're thicker and they're covered in root hairs, so they're very fuzzy. And so those are the roots that you want. So that's why sometimes when you transfer a plant that only has water roots and put them into soil, the plant may go into shock. All those little water roots are not meant for soil, so they're all going to die. And so it'll take longer for it to kind of transition into that soil mix. What I like to do is if I start my plants in water, I then move them into like a rocky type of substrate, or even like leca is great. Get those bigger roots coming in, and then I will do a transfer sometimes to sphagnum moss, and to just again get it used to that drying, and so it's not always wet anymore, that environment, so that then when I transfer into an actual substrate mix, I've kind of like done a gradual shift, versus pluck it out of water and put it directly into substrate. Um, for me, it's a numbers game, and so I've found that doing that more gradual makes for a healthier kind of transition, and increases my odds of survival, versus yeah, like plucking it out of water and putting it directly into dirt. Um, and yeah, so if you do that, now some do really well. So like some for some succulents, for instance, like jades, I'll have them and they're rooting in water, and then I can just put them uh into a substrate once they have really good roots and they do really well. So then that's fine. But for more like foliage type plants, like philodendrons or monstera, things like that, I do that gradual, even Hoyas, I do like that gradual change. Just works for me. So I recommend it. You don't have to do it that way, but I definitely recommend it. Just to even try, just do like one experiment and just see if you like that approach. There is another Haworthia here as well. I love Haworthias too. They're really neat. Um, and there's so much variability as well in their shape. Let me see, some type of might be an echeveria, might be an echeveria. That's really pretty. I like that rosy color. Now you can see there's like a white dust, right? And then you see where it was kind of come into contact with fingers or other plants while it was in the box, and it got rubbed off. And so this powder it is also known I can't think say the word colloquial. Like, I usually can't say that word. I can't say it today. But one of the common names is farina. But I'm trying to remember. I think it's extra cuticular wax. Extra cuticular wax, I think is the scientific term. Maybe I'm thinking that might be the right term there. Um, but it's basically exuded by the plant to protect itself. Now, there are some species of plants that will continuously make layers. So even if you accidentally rub it off, this is meant to protect them from sunlight, from moisture loss, from high winds, from like drying out. Um, but if you accidentally touch them, their surface, you will, with your oils on your hands, you will rub them off. Um, and so that can leave your plant exposed. Uh, but again, as I mentioned, some plants can replenish it, so they will just make more. There are some plants that don't make more. So once it's rubbed off, and that's it. Um, so it won't come off with watering, but it will come off with the oils on our hands, or if other plants are in contact with it, like this was in a package. So it looks very beat up, but it should root well. So this is what is known as a crown cutting. So they cut it right off the top, and yeah, it should root for me really well. It's very pretty. I love that pink. And right at the center, you really see it almost looks like it's glowing from the center. It's really, really beautiful. And I love the way that these taper at the end. It very much looks like a little flower. This is very, very pretty. I hadn't really looked at them. I was like, I want to. I just opened the package and I put them in here, and I was like, I want to save my actual reaction until I see everyone on Monday. So I will really take a look on Monday. Um, I just my initial look, I was like, oh, okay, there's some chrysoulas in there. But I really wasn't trying to look. I was like, I wanna kind of see it for the first time with you. There are actual elephant um, bush in here as well. So elephant bush, really neat in terms of well, they grow really, really well. They can get very structural. Um, they can look really cool, like very tree-like, kind of like jades. Um, but they're very resilient, and they are edible for your pets. So if you are a pet owner, you don't have to worry if your pets get into this, or if you are growing like a bioactive type of tank and you have more of a drier type of setup, so it could be for like desert skinks or desert tortoises, things like a bearded dragon, or if you have like beetles or pets like that, you can grow things like elephant bush in your terrarium, in your little your tank for your pets. And not only does it look really nice, but if your plant decides it wants the snack, it's completely edible. And they propagate via cutting. So if it does chomp and some pieces fall, it'll just start growing in other parts of the tank as well. But they're very, very neat. I had got in it for our bearded dragon, Ozzy, several years ago. And Ozzy had gone to town on it and left a little bit, and then it kept growing, but he definitely decimated it. So um, it is something that uh, have and not have to worry about. And another cool thing is Portulacaria is related to purslane. So if anyone is familiar with that wild edible, purslane, it's great. Like people make like purslane salads and things like that. So it's kind of like a very succulent vegetable. You can't find them in grocery stores. You find them in farmers markets, especially this time of year in for like the northern hemisphere in the spring. Uh, you're definitely gonna, it's very common. I I always get a laugh when I get people reaching out. They're like, "Oh, this is growing in my, in front of my house," and I don't know what it is. Um, and purslane, it's very prolific. My aunt, she didn't know it was edible. It was a weed to her, and it was growing on her driveway, and she was doing everything she could to kill this plant. She tried weed killer and it didn't work. And then she was putting this whole saga on Facebook, and so I didn't know until she had already done a bunch of things and still didn't know what it was. She poured bleach on it. She poured boiling water on it, and she would cut it back and it would just keep growing back, and she was just battling it out. And then when I told her, I said, if you could have just like cut it, um and just, it's a friend, you didn't have to. But yeah, she was just trying everything to murder that poor plant. um and it was a purslane, and it was a pretty substantial size. And yeah, she just ended up, they like dug in to try to really get at the roots, and that was just how it ended up going. But purslane, yeah, you don't have to murder it. It's a very cool plant. And if you don't spray, so, minus the weed killer, of course, if you don't spray in your yard and you happen to have purslane, try it. It's pretty good. And it's different. It's different. I really like it. So, try it out. Try it out. They're very cool and they have really beautiful flowers. So, it's something to do, if you wanted to like propagate them in a pot or something like that. It grows like very viney, very, very cool looking. And yeah, my mom, um, so in Costa Rica, she made some tire gardens. So if you've ever seen them, you can take like old tires, you put dirt in, and then you can kind of make these little flower boxes basically out of old tires. And so she did that, and she had been visiting a family member who had a bunch of purslane, but there's different types. And so the ones that she had at home had a orange flower, and the ones that my family member had like a really pretty like hot pink flower. So she took some cuttings, she started it inside her house, and then she proceeded to make more cuttings and put them in her little tire gardens in front of her house, and they took off. And at first, it was just, it's just green, so they hadn't flowered in that tire garden yet. So it was just a lot of foliage, a lot of little vines. And then they started flowering it, really beautiful. And my mom started noticing as the days went by that the plants were getting smaller and smaller. And like literally sections of the plant was missing. And then she finally caught through her window that there were people taking cuttings of the hot pink purslane, and they were taking cuttings of it. And yeah, so she was watching her plant shrink, And so she ended up moving them behind her, she moved the plants like behind her gate so that they can kind of replenish. And now she puts things out there that she doesn't mind if people are to take cuttings. But yeah, so it was a very, very cool looking purslane. Really, really pretty. I saw them in bloom. Really, really gorgeous. They can be really pretty. They kind of remind me of even like ice plants, if folks are familiar. I think they're very common, like on the West Coast is ice plants. And so I think they are outlawed in terms of planting them in certain areas because they take hold and they can become invasive. I think people, you can keep them outside here, but I don't know if they overwinter very well. I've never seen one like living full time in someone's lawn. I've seen things like hen and chicks and different types of sedum growing full all year round, getting, snow pounded on top of them, and then they're fine. Uh, but I haven't seen ice plants like that, at least here. Um, but I'm curious. I'm curious if they will end up being cold hardy. But yeah, they're very, very cool. So just a side note, but I really like them. So give them all of this to say give Portulacaria a chance. So give them a chance. They aren't all bad. They really aren't. Um, I don't think this is an Echeveria. Might be. I don't know if it's a type of Crassula. No, I don't know if this. I don't think this is an Echeveria. I don't think it's a Pachyphytum. But interesting. I'll have to find out what this little guy is. He is also kind of enclosed, so um I'll see kind of how he looks when he's a little bit bigger. This might be a ghost plant. I think they call them pachyphytums. Pachyphytums. I think so. Um, I like that dark coloration. That's a cool coloration. And then there's another elephant. Oh gosh, but he's a little rough. Some of those leaves are crisp, but it does have some new growth coming in, so it should pop right back once I put them into water. So, and same with this. What is this? I think it's an Echeveria. Um, I don't think it's a sedum either, but it might be a little etiolated, and so that's why maybe I'm having a little bit of trouble with this guy, but not sure. If you know what this is, let me know. Doesn't look, I can't think of what this little guy is. But yes, it's a nice selection. The burrow did drop some of those, but I will be propagating these. So these do, there's a couple in here. These do propagate. So they will make little burrow tails. And then this is what it ends up looking like. Is this little burrow's tail. They're very, very cute. So I definitely want to propagate those little leaves. I won't let them go to waste. Definitely not. So I will enjoy them. Deanna, so I'm planning to rework my flower bed 2 feet wide along the sidewalk. Okay. The bed is up against the wall and it faces a western exposure, sunny all afternoon. Oh, that's great. What would be a recommendation for a flowering shrub to fit? It has drip irrigation. Ooh. So do you want something that flowers during a specific time of year? Um, hmm.
No, not necessarily, Jocelyn. Well, first I thought maybe azalea would be good because they're long blooming. And here in Florida, they might just last a whole lot longer than, natural growth. I just didn't know. And it would look nice. So I'm sure there's varieties of dwarf azaleas
Yeah.
available. So it wouldn't get out of hand because I know the azaleas can grow pretty big.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, azaleas definitely, what I like about azaleas is even here in the winter, They kind of live like evergreens, so they will retain most of their leaves, even during the winter months. I've seen it, with snow, and a lot of the azaleas are still holding on to some of those leaves, you know.
Uh-huh.
But with Florida, that's even better conditions. So,
Yeah.
um, there are some really gorgeous azaleas, especially if you have drip irrigation. There are what are known as swamp azaleas. And so those are really beautiful. I've been seeing them a lot. The reason they're coming to the forefront of my mind is I've been birding a lot in Central Park, and they
Mhm.
have a lot of swamp azalea that is currently, it's still in bloom. So they started blooming. Gosh, I started uh, doing some birding again. It was like March. Um, and so I was already starting to see them. And then all of April, they were blooming, and all of May now, they're still blooming.
Mhm.
And
What
they're
what
really
colors? Sorry. What colors are the blooms?
all
All color?
different.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
So
Okay.
I've seen orange, I've seen yellow, and then different varieties of pink.
Okay.
And what I love is that their stamen, so the male part of the plant, they're very long. So it gives it a really cool look. Um,
Oh,
I'll
neat.
I'll share it here so that folks, um here we go. Yeah, there's swamp azaleas. Yeah, they have so many different types of azaleas there. They also had this one that was really pretty. And so Here we
Oh,
go. So
yeah.
some of the female parts of the plant are also very long, the pistil, as well as, and then some of them, the stamen is like right at the same length. Sometimes it's a little variable, but they're just so pretty.
They're beautiful. They remind me of honeysuckle.
Yes, 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 yes.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. And I would imagine that they attract, the hummingbirds and
Oh,
butterflies. It looks like they might do that. Wow.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, they grow them a lot. They have a bunch. In Central Park by the Ramble, and yeah, so a lot of areas where there's a lot of bird activity. Um,
Okay.
and so I just think they look so beautiful. They really have like a lily type of look to them.
Uh-huh.
It just looks very different than typical azaleas, and so I think I've just been inundated with them because there's so many. So I keep seeing them. Uh,
Yeah.
and so when you said drip irrigation and something that, is going to flower for a longer period of time, yeah, I immediately was like, oh, swamp azalea.
Okay. Yeah, they are beautiful. I'll look
Yeah.
into the availability of them here.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Great.
very welcome. Yeah, because they are really pretty, and it wasn't something that I had heard of swamp azaleas before, but it wasn't something I had seen in person. And so being able to really be inundated with so many different colors this
Oh,
year,
yeah. Yeah.
like look at these.
That's
It's
pretty.
just with that touch of yellow. So
Yeah.
there were all these different cultivars. And so
Beautiful.
I you look at this. Oh my
Oh, look
gosh.
at that. Wow.
So there's some really gorgeous ones. So
Yeah.
if you can find them, I think that might be really great, especially because you have that drip irrigation. So um, they're just very different, and so I very much have been appreciating watching that.
I bet. That's nice. Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, let me know if you do and what colors
Okay.
you get, because yeah, it's
Okay.
really pretty.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
and I'm trying to see what other cool plants have I been seeing a lot. Oh, there were a lot of we saw so many bluebells. They really planted them out in Central Park. They had both the Spanish bluebells, for those of you that know the Spanish bluebells. Um, this was a really beautiful spring ephemeral. Um, there were so many Spanish bluebells this year. It
Wow.
made it look so magical. Just to see the blue like that, really, really beautiful. They had the Spanish bluebells and then the Virginia bluebells. I think it's the Virginia bluebells that are non-toxic, and then I think it's the Spanish bluebells that are toxic. I will have to double check, but there were both types are being planted in the park. And but what I like about the Virginia bluebells is that they go from like a pink to blue.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it's really, really beautiful coloration. It very much reminded me of my of childhood of that movie, the Sleeping Beauty animated movie.
Oh,
where it's like the dress kept turning from like that shade of pink to blue, pink to blue. And you just see the flowers like they start off with this really pretty pink, and then the little buds, and then they start to turn blue. Really
beautiful.
gorgeous. So I was very much happy that I was able to enjoy this spring migration. I saw some really cool birds, and I got to enjoy so many spring ephemerals. So bluebells, I got to see so many like snowdrops, which are galanthus. I was able to see like trout lilies as well. For those of you who might not know, the trout lilies, these itty bitty. I love their leaves. They're very mottled, and they're
Mhm.
very small, and just the flowers are just beautiful, and they point
Mhm.
down,
Mhm.
um, really gorgeous. And trout lilies, I saw so many. Oh, shooting stars, star flowers. I think it's called shooting stars, falling stars. Oh, here we go, shooting stars.
Oh, wow.
These are super cool. I really like the flowers that point downwards, and I'm forgetting the terminology for that right now, but the flowers that just point down. So, I think they just look so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I saw so many of these in Central Park. And then of course columbines, which are another one that point downwards like that. Um,
Mhm.
you will
Mhm.
find them, of course, some that are pointing upwards, but there's a bunch of red columbine
Mm.
um, in Central Park, and I love their structure. It's just such
Oh,
a
wow.
right. It's insane.
Yeah.
Um, and we saw some really big ones when we went to Denver, Colorado a few years ago. It's their state flower is a type of columbine, and it's huge. It looks yeah, they it was wow in comparison to the ones I see here.
Wow.
And it's really really pretty. Kind of has this coloration to it, like the white with like a blue purple.
Mhm.
I think it was the Denver. Colorado. I forget what it mountain columbine. What is it? The Colorado blue. There we go. Look at
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Oof, absolutely gorgeous. Um, yeah, I even got I don't know where it is, but I even got a hand like a tote, not a handbag, a tote bag, um, from when we were there in Denver. That had all of the flowers you can find in that area, and it has a bunch of columbines of the blue columbine on it. It's so spectacular to see in person. Because it is a pretty large columbine flower. Really
Gorgeous
really gorgeous.
color. Just
It really
beautiful.
is. Yeah, and what's really neat is for plants to make these like blues, it a lot of the plants, this is not a pigment that just happens naturally,
Mm.
where the plant just kind of sprouts and that's the color. Is the plant, there is an actual chemical reaction happening inside the plant. So there's a book called Nature's Palette. For those of you, I have mentioned this book. Um, Nature's Palette? Is it a double L? Oh, one L. Um, no. Nature's Palette by, is it David Allen? Maybe it's David Allen. David Lee. There we go. Nature's Palette. I do have a PDF copy of this. It's in available for free when you guys go to the replays in Dropbox. There is recommended reading in there, and there's free ebooks in there if you haven't checked. And this is one of those ebooks, and it's like 300 pages, something like that.
Oh,
I
gee.
really, really recommend it because he goes in there even talking about how some plants make the color blue, and he talks about how they will actually manipulate their own pH, as well as the anthocyanin content within them that ends up creating these colors, which is really, really neat.
Mm,
It's a great, great book. I highly recommend it. I feel like I do have it behind me. It's like I think I have it behind me. But yeah, it's a hefty book. It's a
mm,
hefty book. Highly recommend, and I have it for free in my recommended reading. So
mhm.
definitely check it out if you want to kind of take a deeper dive into the science of plant color. This is the book. If you kind of want to understand how that happens within the plant, um,
Mhm,
it's definitely worth it. Check it out.
mhm, mm,
Let's see. Yeah. All right. Okay, so it's one. All right, awesome. Let me see. Oh, Miriam, do they all come from the same collector? In terms uh of what of the cuttings I got, or you mean the columbines for if who comes from all if it was the cuttings, no, they were different. Um, I just order from different people, and then a lot of the cuttings I've been getting this year are oh my cuttings, yeah, from eBay. So if you go on eBay and you go to succulent cuttings, there are different sellers, and some will say only let's say chryssulas, so they'll only give you different types of chryssulas. Others is like succulent mix. I would say go for the ones that are actual cuttings. Last year I did one that was like a bag of just the leaves, so just the leaves, and it came and the person had put like a paper towel and a lot of them were rotted and they did not take off for me like that. And so I regretted, I was like, oh man, no, I shouldn't have gotten that. But the if you get them and they're actual cuttings, these are much better to start. So and they're really cheap, so a lot of them will do free shipping. So it'll be like 15 cuttings for 15 bucks, free shipping. And so you just have to wait. But yeah, and I've been having pretty good quality. I think in all the years I loved starting cuttings in the spring. I think in all the years that I've ordered from eBay specifically, there was only one batch that I think was in like 2020 that I ordered batch. It was of 10 cuttings, and that had some mealy bugs on them, and then I had to treat them. But otherwise, I've had pretty great luck. I haven't had anything come in with like scale or any pests. And then and then they do really well. And yeah, sometimes I'm inundated with cuttings, so I'll give them away. But I love to start them. I definitely love to start them. And so yeah, I definitely recommend not all the same collector. So I get from different people. So I just see who's offering it and I go from there. And I usually get like on the cheaper end. So it'll say like random cuttings, usually under 20 bucks because then it includes the shipping. So they'll be like, or 20 cuttings for 15 bucks. There was one that I got too that was like 25 cuttings for 20 bucks, shipping included. So that was like at the top of my budget there. I was like, I don't want to go more than 20 bucks. But especially when they include shipping, it's great. And then you get a nice variety. So I highly recommend it. It's very fun and you don't know what's coming. So some folks will have a picture and say these are the species, but I really appreciate the random ones because I don't know, and I like to get surprised with what's coming. Because yeah, it's just absolutely random. And then I really like this one especially. One because there's a lot of they're bigger pieces, which I love. But I really like Kalanchoes and Crassula, so I'm happy that there are a lot in here. Haworthias, of course, I like them too. Um, but the Crassulas and the Kalanchoes is what I'm really excited about because I'm always collecting different types, and I like that I can add more to my collection. Yeah, but the Haworthias are always really cool though. They're very sculptural. And Haworthias, gosh, they do super well. They root really easily, um, and they're very resilient. So even if you end up like rooting it and then you forget to water it, it'll come back for you. So they'll reroot and it'll be fine. So they're very forgiving, very forgiving. So yeah, but thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy the rest for those that are celebrating the rest of your holiday weekend. If you have off today, hope that you're enjoying it. And if you have good weather, hope that you're enjoying that as well. The temperature definitely dropped from where it was, but it's still pretty nice. So we have the fan going, no AC just yet. So, but we'll see if I'm gonna end up needing it today. But so far so good. And yeah, just gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna start planting these guys up and getting them ready to go. Um oh it had a packet of seeds with none in them. Oh my gosh. And they immediately replaced them. Um one of those slipper plants. Oh man. Yeah, the gosh. Um the slipper plants. Okay. Gosh, yeah. I'm glad that they replaced them because yeah. I definitely would be I would be pissed if. But thank you, everyone. And yes, you too, Deanna. And thank you guys for coming and hanging out and just talking plants. It's always a highlight to start my week like this. So
Oh,
I truly appreciate it.
so, yeah.
Thanks, everyone. And again, enjoy the rest of your Monday, the rest of your week. And we're wrapping up May. My gosh. So we're about to enter June. So yeah, I'll see you in June since we're about to be in there. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Have a
Okay,
great
you
one.
too. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.